Joining me tonight from Washington, Republican strategist Rich Galen, and here in New York, columnist for the New York Daily News, CNN contributor Errol Louis, Democratic strategist and CNN contributor Sheinkopf. Great to have you all here. The health care debacle, House Speaker Pelosi and Majority Leader Hoyer wrote in an op-ed today, says drowning out opposing views is simply un-American. What do you think? I mean, Sheinkopf, un-American? Those are words that, I mean, that's an expression we don't often hear.
Well, it's kind of like red baiting. It's another way to stifle some kind of dissent. Look, are there people who are being paid to create disturbances? Sure. Are there people who are average Americans who are creating their own disturbances? Absolutely. Are there people concerned about this? You bet. But to label the entire movement opposed to this kind of health care, or what we don't know what it is, as being somehow construed by others is not appropriate nor right.
Yeah, this is the mirror image of the demonization that was going on, and frankly has been going on all through the campaign last year. You know, when you try to write your opponent out of the mainstream, make them beyond the pale, and say that they're not just wrong, but they're wrong-headed, that they're not part of the debate, they shouldn't be part of the debate. Pelosi, by sort of stooping to that tactic, I think, really sort of loses whatever high ground they might have had. Some of the disruptions that really were appalling, I think, are going to start to look like kind of, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Rich?
Yeah, I don't understand why the White House and now the Democrats in the House have taken this tack. I mean, as a political hack, I just don't understand it. They just keep raising the level of the gas flame under this thing, and that's right. They do. They just got to keep making it hotter and hotter. And I don't understand it. I thought that actually what Dingell did yesterday, for the most part, was the right way to handle it. He kind of let everybody blow off steam. He's 83 years old. He's heard it all. He's seen it all. And he kind of let everybody have their say. And then he talked about what he wanted to talk about. And off they went. I think that's the right approach. I don't understand why the White House and at least the House has decided that they want to go to war with frankly, these are protesters that are protesting. You know, these are the folks that were there in the 60s. Now we're all in the 60s. Now we're all in our 60s.
Yeah, and you know, as you say, Rich, I mean, we're in counter to both Congressman Hoyer, Congressman Pelosi, President Obama, Robert Gibbs, his spokesperson. Here's Senator Claire McCaskill. You know, Rich was just holding up Congressman Dingell. Claire McCaskill is out there. This woman is encouraging these town hall meetings. She's taken on all comers in any part of the state of Missouri. I think that's exemplary. What's the big deal here?
For the swing state.
I have to agree with you, Lou. Look, democracy is an endless meeting. When you have discussion and you have some heat and noise, sometimes you have democracy. When you have hidden gatherings and people don't have discussions, that's not democracy. What that is congratulating politicians for doing things that they may not, should not, and probably might not have done if someone had been looking. Different issue.
An entirely different take, Errol. I mean, this president has demanded that as of last Friday, the House and the Senate pass something that is unshaped, unmarked, and unscored, and wanted that to be policy for a sixth of the nation's economy, for all Americans. And against that, we also have now the leadership in the House saying you're un-American to oppose it. I mean, my God, what's going on?
Well, the un-American part was, you know, to shout people down, to stop the conversation is un-American, which I would agree with. I think the president is doing what he...
Un-American?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to shut down a debate, that's just wrong. It's just wrong. I mean, but what the president
So you agree with what Pelosi and Hoyer said?
The words...
Get in or, you know, get in or I'll get all the way.
Look, the words in the article were to shut down debate, to use those kind of disruptive tactics to try and stop the debate from going forward is wrong. It's just wrong. You call it un-American, you call it whatever you want. I mean, it needs to be denounced. You can't have people tarred and feathered in effigy outside of their congressional office or hung in effigy outside of their office. That's not the way to conduct this debate. You can't have union guys beating up somebody in the parking lot at a town hall meeting. It's just not going to fly.
Is that un-American?
Yeah, wrong. Un-American. Absolutely. Unacceptable.
We're going to be back with
unacceptable.
We're going to be back with a number of questions for our panel and get their viewpoints. But first, Brooke Baldwin with an update on some other stories that are very important here tonight. Brooke?
Lou, divers have now found the wreckage of that plane involved in a midair collision over the Hudson River, and they say one of the two missing bodies is inside. The plane collided with a sightseeing helicopter on Saturday afternoon, killing 9 people. In Hollywood, Florida, beach goers tried to rescue a mother whale and her calf. Did you see this? 2 whales swam into shallow waters where they became beached. Crowds of people just jumped in to push the whales into deeper water, but the mother whale did die, and the calf had to be euthanized because it was too young to survive on its own. And in Taiwan, 15 people are dead and as many as 800 may be missing after a typhoon just ripped through villages there. The storm toppled buildings, triggered mudslides and dangerous flooding. A heavy rainfall washed out bridges and roads, limiting the rescue efforts in some of the areas. Helicopters did manage to rescue more than 100 villagers, but officials fear hundreds more may be missing. And those are some of the stories we are staying on top of. Lou.
Thank you very much, Brooke. Coming up, we'll have much more with our panel and Secretary of State Clinton making it very clear who's in charge at the State Department.
You want me to tell you what my husband thinks? My husband is not the Secretary of State. I am.
We'll have much more on what sparked the Secretary's response here next. We're back with our panel. I'd like, if I may, this is Congressman David Scott responding to a doctor who just asked him about health care at one of his constituent meetings.
Not a single one of you had the decency to call my office and set up for a meeting. You want a meeting with me on health care? I'll give it to you.
My question is why are you
That's Congressman Scott yelling at the doctor there, who happens to be a constituent who he mistaked for an AstroTurf manipulator operative. Was he being un-American?
It was a perfectly good speech by the congressman of outrage. It was unfortunately wasted on somebody it didn't apply to.
Yeah.
Although to be fair to the congressman, this was not a meeting about health care, and he felt like people were popping up and trying to take him off his topic.
I just asked you. You just said it was un-American to do that. He just did it.
Well, I mean, look.
He was shutting down. He was shutting down dissent.
If you play more of it.
It gets to be a little bit of a touchy kind of game, doesn't it?
Well,
this un-American stuff.
It's not a phrase. It's not a phrase I would use. I would use wrong.
That was at the end. That was at the end of the meeting. The congressman had covered everything he wanted to cover. That was at the end of the meeting, so it wasn't hijacking anything in the middle.
Hank Sheinkopf, let's wrap it up with the president in Guadalajara, Mexico, saying that this nation in the 21st century is not defined by its borders, but we're not going to be doing we're not going to be doing so-called comprehensive immigration reform. He's talking about sequencing. What's your reaction?
Tell that to the family of the Border Patrol agent killed just a little bit ago on those borders. Drug trafficking increasing, drug gangs in action. Reminds me very much of previous American history, 1916, blackjack purging. Get ready to hit the Mexican border because we could have the same kind of problems again.
Hank, thank you very much. Errol, thank you. Rich, thank you. We appreciate it.
Nice to be with you.
Secretary of State Clinton today responding sharply to a mistranslated question, as it turns out, at a meeting in Congo. A translator asked what her husband, Bill Clinton, thought about Communist China's offer of aid to Congo.
Wait, you want me to tell you what my husband thinks? My husband is not the Secretary of State. I am. So you ask my opinion, I will tell you my opinion. I'm not going to be channeling my husband.
The questioner meant to ask, or the translator mistranslated the question to mean President Obama as the reaction to the Chinese offer rather than President Clinton. It was all straightened out by the secretary, as you just witnessed. Coming up at the top of the hour, Campbell Brown. Campbell?
Hey there, Lou. We're going to have the story of those 47 passengers who were stuck overnight on a parked airline. What was the airline thinking? Whatever happened to passengers' rights here? We're going to speak to one of the people who was trapped on that plane. And we have more on those town hall meetings turning into showdowns over the president's health care plan. We're going to have a health care fact check for you tonight. Plus, we all know that working out is good for you, right? But it is actually help you lose weight. Or is that a myth? We're going to have answers on that front as well. Lou?
Well, I'll be focused, I assure you, intently. Campbell, thanks. Campbell Brown. We'll be right back.